afternoon, and welcome to the Home and Finance Show. We're your host. I'm Diana Rice Wilkerson with Fairway Independent Mortgage, and joining me is my co-host.
Good morning. I'm Janice Bradley with JB Real Estate Consultants.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We have a very special guest for you, and we're going to be talking all things real estate today. We have our favorite real estate attorney joining us, Ms. Tamara Brown. Welcome, Tamara.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am fine. How are you guys doing?
We're
We
doing
are
great.
good.
We're doing great. Just can't wait till you're sharing all this wealth of knowledge with us.
And because we have just a very short window of time, we're going to jump right in because we have a lot to talk to you about, and I believe you probably have a lot to share with us. But where I'd like you to start, Tamara, is just let the viewers know, your name, your profession, give them a little bit of background about yourself, and then we'll get right into our questions.
Okay. Well, good morning, and my name is Tamara Brown. I am a real estate lawyer here in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have a full-service real estate law office in Carmel. We're located at 104th in Carmel, 10411 North College Avenue. We also have a full-service title company by the name of Absolute Title Services, and it's located at the same address, 10411 North College Avenue. And we service the Indiana area, pretty much the mid Indianapolis area, the mid Indiana area, but we do have capabilities to work in Lake County and also southern Indiana. So we do, service the full state, but we focus on central Indiana. We are here to answer your real estate questions and to provide closing services. So we do both residential and commercial closings for buy, sells, refinances, and other projects that we get involved in with regards to the state of Indiana and other vendors who hire us for service.
Thank you for that, Tamara. Real quick, you mentioned that you also own a title services, Absolute Titles Company. So share with us a little bit about what that means as far as title services. So what exactly is a title?
Well, a title company is a third-party neutral service company or vendor that actually brings the transaction on a buy, sell, or a refinance for real estate together. So we are, in a sense, the middleman, and we provide escrow services and title services for real estate. And what that means is if you are selling a property or buying a property, typically your real estate agent is going to engage with or send your transaction to a title company to help process the transaction through to final conveyance. So the title company researches the real estate, looks at what's on title. That means going through the county records to make sure if there are any liens, to verify and confirm who is the owner of the property, and also to check things like taxes, if there are any easements on the real estate that have been recorded, and pretty much all recorded documents pertaining to that particular property. In addition, the title company may be conducting judgment searches on the seller and quite possibly sometimes on the buyer at the lender's request to find out if there are any potential liens that, or potential liens that may affect the real estate after a conveyance.
As I'm hearing you talk, Tamara, one of the things that's flashing across my mind is how buyers want to, they come to us, obviously for me for the pre-approval, for Janice for the house, and then they start the process. the actual process that we have to go through in order to get them to the closing table. And oftentimes they're really not aware of what you do.
Exactly.
I mean, we check out the buyer, and Janice is handling the real estate transaction, but then you are checking out that property, all to make sure that once the owner becomes the owner, that they have a clear title, a legal title to the property. And you're also the settlement agent, so you're the one paying all the bills as well, right? To the realtor, taxes. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility that you guys have.
That's correct. Absolutely. We are, as I said, we are typically neutral. So we are working for the parties to make sure that the transaction is smooth and doesn't have any glitches. And of course, to make sure that there are no liens or any encumbrances or any issues concerning the title that need to be resolved by the seller to benefit the new buyer. Okay, so that is true. And then we also handle all of the payoffs for mortgages that are on title that would have to be paid off. And we also handle all of the checks and payments to realtors, home warranty companies, HOA companies, if there is a homeowners association on the property, and other invoices that are submitted to us pursuant to the purchase agreement, which is a contract. And that's really our guide, is the purchase agreement, how it's written. So it's a process that involves many different people. It of course involves you guys, the realtor, the lender, and of course the title company.
A couple of questions, which I would consider hot questions, popular topics that the consumers have questions around. One is paying property taxes. So a lot of people do enjoy the benefit of paying off their mortgage, and they no longer have a mortgage, and let's say included in that mortgage payment were their taxes and insurance. So now once that mortgage is paid off, they now are responsible for paying their own taxes and their own insurance. What happens, I should ask the question this way, can a person really lose their property over non-payment of real estate taxes?
It unfortunately does happen. The government does provide some assurances there and some timeframes in which a person can make that payment if they get behind. But yes, once the mortgage is paid off, and if the person is still the owner of the property, they would be responsible for taxes, and of course we encourage insurance. Okay, so those are the two payments that will have to be made on a free and clear property going forward to protect the asset. And that pretty much is something that the taxes have to be paid on a biannual basis. Generally, the insurance is an annual paid on an annual basis, but of course that is pursuant to the terms of any contract that the owners would direct with or set up with their insurance company. So the taxes are very important and they need to be paid. If you get behind on your taxes, you are typically given a year to catch up and make those payments. After the year, then you typically will receive notices from the county government stating that your taxes are delinquent and need to be paid. And if they're not paid, then your property could be subject to what's called a tax sale. If the taxes aren't paid at that point and it goes to a tax sale, once the taxes are paid or someone purchases the property at the tax sale, you're then given another year to redeem that property, and that would be to pay any taxes and penalties that have been assessed through that period of time. So you are given, notice, and you are given an opportunity to make sure that the taxes are paid. So we do encourage people to make sure that they look into those properties that are free and clear to maintain the taxes and the insurance to make sure that the asset is viable.
So Tamara, let's get into some deed questions. So for instance, the difference between a deed and a mortgage, but then let's get into, again, specific concerns or explanations of deeds.
Well, a deed generally is a ownership document that is recorded with the county in which the real estate is located to put everyone on notice, everyone, we usually say everyone in the world, on notice that the person owns the piece of real estate, okay? So it is recorded, and that is the deed. You can obtain a copy of your deed by requesting it from a title company or going to the recorder's office in the county in which the real estate is located and obtaining a copy there if you don't have one. The mortgage is it's a secured transaction, and it accompanies generally a note. The note is a promise to pay. Typically, that promise to pay is to a lender, or in some cases, if a seller is financing, another seller or someone else. But generally, it's a lender. It's a promise to pay money back. The note and the mortgage together create a secure transaction in the real estate, which means that the real estate is now encumbered with a lien. The mortgage document is recorded just like the deed is recorded in the county in which the real estate is located to let everyone know, everyone in the world know that there is a mortgage or a lien on the property. So in that regard, the deed and the mortgage are two separate documents that are recorded to provide notice. One provide ownership notice, one to provide payment or a promise to pay back notice.
Thank you for that.
I can't hear.
So share with us a couple of things. Does a deed need to be recorded for it to be effective?
Absolutely. One of the main tenets for real estate is that the deed be recorded, there again, to put everyone in the world on notice that the person owns that particular piece of real estate. If for some reason a document, a deed, is not recorded, no one would know who the owner is. And it's possible that a seller could sell it to more than one person and create issues concerning litigation.
Okay, very well said. So I wanted to talk a little bit about deeds and what quitclaim deeds, when is that necessary, when you should, when you shouldn't, just kind of get into that whole deed situation. And maybe one of the things that we really may misunderstand about how to use quitclaims, when to add somebody, when to take them off, and go into great detail about that if you would.
Okay, well, typically the greatest type of conveyance is a warranty deed, wherein the owner is transferring the property and warranting to the buyer that he has good and marketable title. That's the type of deed that you actually ultimately want to have. The quitclaim deed is a deed that is conveying or transferring whatever I have to the new buyer. So if it is encumbered, if the property is encumbered with a mortgage, I can convey it to a third party. I can convey it to a buyer via quitclaim deed, but that mortgage is still an encumbrance on the property. And again, that's notice to the buyer that they're receiving something that is less than warrantable, or has some type of liens or encumbrances on the property. So with a quit claim deed, you're only quit claiming what you actually have, which in some cases may not be very much. For example, if the property is worth 100,000 and the mortgage is 125,000 and you quit claim it to someone, then that person just received a debt, okay, of $125,000. Not very much equity there. So did they receive anything? Well, that's up to up to debate, of course. But that's kind of an issue where you might want to make sure that in transactions that are involving less than warrantable title, you would seek an attorney. Okay, there are many different types of deeds. And in most cases, you'll need to reach out to legal counsel to determine what's the best type of conveyance document that you can get, or that you can do. In some cases, your options are very limited. But at any rate, it's very important that before you deal with real estate transactions in this day and age, you should seek legal assistance.
Okay, Tamara, when you were talking about the quitclaim deeds, I guess I need a little bit of more understanding, and maybe the listening audience that might help. One of the questions I guess I have, so for instance, on my present home, it's just my name on the title, or the deed, let's say. So if I wanted to add my children, I mean, that would be a positive thing, correct? But I mean, you made the comment about the equity factor or what have you. So what would be the reasons, like I said, for good reasons to do quitclaim deeds and maybe not so good?
Well, there are many different considerations with
Okay.
regards to the conveyance of property and adding people to title. And there are many different ways of doing that. One of the ways of doing that, you are correct, is to quit claim someone else onto the title along with you. That is something that you can definitely do. If there is a mortgage on the property, you may want to look at your mortgage paperwork to make sure that that doesn't create an automatic acceleration of the mortgage payment term. It depends on what is in the mortgage documentation, okay? So that's something that needs to be at least looked at before transferring people onto the property. The other way that you can add people to the mortgage, or there are many different ways of handling that. For example, if you wanted to provide someone with a life estate, that is a different type of document. It can be a quitclaim deed where you give someone a life estate in the property. Of course, you can do a life estate transaction with a warranty deed also. There is a transfer on death deed. For example, if you have someone who would like to transfer the property prior to their death, but have that information with regards to who is going to receive the property upon their death recorded. That's a transfer on death deed. After the person's death, the affidavit of death would need to be recorded. So quite simply, it's the reason why we request, or we suggest that someone, if you're doing a transaction that's less than your typical buy-sell on a real estate transaction, a residential real estate transaction where there are realtors involved, you should probably seek an attorney to look to those different interests and how those interests are set up, whether it's a life estate, transfer on death transaction, or even a situation where a husband and wife own the property and one of the persons passes, then an affidavit of survivorship may need to be filed with the recorder to let the recorder know that the tenants by the entireties, which is husband and wife, has been changed and only one person now owns the property. So those are situations where you will probably need to seek counsel.
Speaking about the quick claim deed, talk about, can you take someone's name off of a deed once their name has been added?
Generally, the person who has been added will need to execute documentation taking their name off. So in other words, if you add someone on and then that person wants to be taken off, that person will have to execute documentation taking themselves out of the transaction or off of the property. Absent a court order, a partition action, or some other type of judgment from a court, no, the person has to voluntarily take themselves out of the ownership of the property.
And that's why I like what you said about involving an attorney for all of these different deeds. Simply because as a consumer, we think we're doing one thing, and maybe we are, but if things change, it's not as simple as we can undo it. The other thing I'd like you to talk about is the life estate and how that works.
Well, the life estate is typically a conveyance wherein someone can have an ownership interest in the real estate during their lifetime. Once they pass, a survivorship affidavit would need to be filed stating that that person has passed and recorded, but that would then take that person out of ownership of the property, letting everybody know, putting everyone on notice that that person is no longer has an interest in the real estate.
What's the deed situation when a person has the ability to stay in a home? They're not the owner, but they can stay in the home for their life. But the property is actually owned by somebody else.
Life estate.
That's the life estate? Mm-hmm. Okay, great.
Okay. So share with us, when does a consumer need a real estate attorney? So provide examples if you would.
Well, just as we just discussed, anytime that you're trying to convey something that is less than 100% warrantable, marketable title on a transaction where you have help, such as realtors and lenders, and of course a title company is involved. If you're conveying something less than 100% interest, you probably need to have an attorney review those documents. The other situations that an attorney would be very, very important is with regards to special conveyances such as easements. If you are providing someone with an easement over your property, and also with regards to probate matters, if you are trying to convey something through a probate proceeding, those are cases where attorneys are very, very important. And of course, commercial transactions, most of those are going to involve attorneys.
So go ahead.
We keep seeing ads or you get in the mail these notices that says, hey, you need to sign up for this kind of protection to protect your deed, or you hear sign up to get a copy of your deed. It's like $85. Are you familiar with those, and is that a good idea?
Well, I am somewhat familiar with them. I don't believe that the cost of obtaining a copy of your deed document is that expensive if you inquire with regards to the recorder's office in the county in which the property is located. It might be quite cheaper, but of course, you know, it might be worth the fee, you know, in order to call and you know, get that information. But at any rate, I think that those services are available for people. You just need to really be cautious. There's a lot of fraud where people are trying to get you to sign documentation to transfer your real estate possibly over to them, whether it's for a sale or otherwise. So really, we just need to be very diligent, and we need to be very cautious with dealing with people that we don't know. Of course, we have realtors who are licensed in the state of Indiana to deal with these conveyance transactions, to answer our questions, and that's very, very important. We also have licensed attorneys in the state of Indiana who are there to answer questions concerning matters of real estate. So if you get in situations where you're not quite sure, you should contact someone. There are agencies, legal services, and other agencies out there who can answer very basic questions for free.
Yeah, good, good. Hey, in the last few minutes that we have, will you please give us your contact information, please?
Yes, my contact information, my office is located at 10411 North College Avenue in Carmel, Indiana, just north of Indianapolis. And my phone number is area code 317-251-3788.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tamara, for joining us today. Your information is invaluable, and we look forward to
is.
having you back next time.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, and have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Janice, was that not fantastic?
Always, she's always so thorough. Yes, and I really like the information that she gave about the title work.
Yes.
And understanding that process, because like she said, the buyers don't have a clue.
That's right.
You know, there's a lot of people don't have a clue.
That's right.
But how important it is, you
That's
know.
right.
And that they're representing the lender.
Exactly.
You know, so
exactly.
I really do love that information.